I'd like to call to order the January 14th, 2025 Columbia Borough Council meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilperson Kaufman,
Here.
Councilperson Stahl,
Here.
Councilperson Fisher, Council President Zink,
Here.
Councilperson Easy,
Here.
Councilperson Murphy,
Here.
Councilperson Regard,
Here.
Mayor Litz.
Here.
Thank you.
Did anyone want to offer an invocation? All right, if you'd like, please rise for a moment of silence. Councilperson Kesey, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcement of executive sessions. There were none. Are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda needed? I'm not aware of anything.
Madam President,
Yes,
point of order on the agenda.
yes,
Item 10C,
yes,
that was voted on last week.
yes. It is being reconsidered.
So no matter what the vote is, if you don't like it, you do it the next week.
Not always, but I thought that what we had discussed about his appointment was related to what we discussed last week at the workshop. Votes were reflective of not doing events, and with council's direction that they want them coordinating events, this had come back up for a vote again.
It's not so much for me, it's for the others that voted for their consideration, but I can tell you that this very similar issue to this is now being, I'll say, discussed legally with the Pennsylvania Mayors Association's attorneys. Item of voting one way and then turning around and trying to change it again. So, my point of order, let it be noted.
All right. Additions, deletions, or reorganization? No. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
So moved.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Giese, to approve the agenda as published. All in favor? Aye. Citizen comments, non-agenda items. I don't have any signups. Is there anyone that wanted to speak that did not have a chance to sign up? Yes, Frank.
Good evening. I just reached to turn my hearing aids up and I forgot to bring my hearing aids, so could you please speak up? I'd like to refer to back to the December 10th meeting. I'm sure you will probably remember what I'm talking about. When I left the meeting that night, I got home, I forgot my cell phone. My cell phone was down here. I knocked on the door here. I think, Gary, you acknowledged that somebody had knocked. And I'm trying to get to the bottom as to why the door was locked and there was people in here. So could you tell me who was here at that meeting?
I don't know who was. It wasn't a meeting. It was after the meeting. We always lock the door. It was everyone packing up their things and going home. But it wasn't a meeting.
So there was nobody here then. They was all going by the time the door was locked?
I
All
don't-
you're doing is signing checks most of the time
Yes.
at that, right? The borough has checks that have to be signed by at least 2 people, correct?
Yeah.
And
So
so,
we sign the checks and
and yeah,
pack up our stuff and
go-
leave.
yeah.
Well, what you just said, Evan, checks got to be signed by 2 people. That's not correct. That's not the answer I was given. All of council signs the checks.
No.
That's what you told me, Heather.
We all have
All of council
authorization
can
to
sign
them.
checks.
Right. We
That's-
all can sign checks, but
Yes.
each check only requires 2 signatures.
I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought sure you told me that all council
No.
signs the
No,
checks.
we are all authorized to sign checks, but only 2 people sign checks at a time.
Well, the reason that come about, I asked who the check signers was, and you said all council signs the
Can
checks.
sign checks. I can't tell you who signs which ones because after we authorize them, we split them up and, you know.
We divvy them up and just sign them.
Right,
When do you do that?
Right after the
right
meeting.
after the meeting's done.
Get the meeting is adjourned.
Right.
Right. See that brown
She
folder
has
sitting
it over
there?
where
That's the
where
checks.
So after the meeting, you all stay, everybody signs the checks or not?
I have not been signing checks, no. But
Yes.
the rest of the members of council,
Not all.
not all stay. I
Some
mean,
have to go.
yeah,
But they-
typically,
I'm
a
here-
lot
I'm
of,
here
a
all the
lot
time.
of times the checks are signed before everyone has even left.
Well, that's why you always had 2 check signers. Who is the duly authorized check signers? The 2.
Every member of council is an authorized check signer.
We can all sign them, Frank.
All 7 of us, Frank.
All
Any
7 of us,
combination of 2.
including the borough manager and the finance manager, are all authorized to sign checks. That's why when we do a resolution for the signatories.
Yep.
You hear that often?
Yep.
If you look in the packet, that resolution lists every single person that can sign checks. That authorization goes to the bank and they send us cards that we
Well,
have to sign.
what happens at the bank is not my concern. What my concern is, after the meeting, the authorized council meeting, council stays and they sign the checks. That's a no-no. That's a violation of the Sunshine Act.
Well, we typically
That is
do
not a
that.
violation
That
of the
is-
Sunshine Act, Frank,
Yeah.
right? You
We've done
have
that
to
way
be
for years.
debating
If-
agency business.
If
And
everybody,
all they're doing is signing checks
if
that
everybody
have already
stays,
been authorized, that is not a violation of the Sunshine Act. Let me be very clear about that. Okay? All the-
Evan is here the whole time we
Yeah.
are doing it. So if we were doing something that was breaking sunshine, Evan would tell
Exactly.
us.
um,
Frank, it's not as simple as just, I sign 10 checks and pass to the next person. There's a packet that comes with those checks and I do, I can pretty much vouch for everybody here. I'm looking to check, going back through the packet that's there with the check to say, has the manager reviewed it and signed off on it,
Right.
the appropriate manager? Look to see what line items it goes to, look at your agenda, have the finance report up and you can check just to make sure that
I mean, Sharon did this,
Yeah.
how many times, it was like 3 years you sat here and did the exact same thing after the meeting.
does that make it right?
Sorry.
No, does that make it right?
That's, doesn't
No.
make it
It
wrong.
certainly is not wrong.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
Certainly is
If-
not
if-
wrong.
Well,
So I agree with Frank. We're not in any violation. And I can't recall any time that we've ever talked about a subject ever.
No.
But it does lead to the appearance. And I agree with you on that.
well, the door was locked.
But the
And-
We'll
clerk-
sit here and sign them and adjourn once we leave.
The clerk,
Yep.
the
You all
clerk
can
is
wait.
assigned, the clerk that's working, running the minutes is assigned to lock the doors and go home. So after working all day and being here for X amount of hours at night, the clerk wastes no time locking the doors and going home. That's why the doors are locked. Before that before that practice was in place, people would leave and forget to lock the doors. The police came over numerous times and found the doors open. That's why the doors are locked immediately after the meeting.
That don't cut it, Leo.
That's the truth.
Well, that don't
You're
cut
a
it.
conspiracy theorist, so take what you want.
So would
what-
you
what-
prefer
what-
if after we approve the bills, we sit here and pass them out and take 10 minutes or 15 minutes to sign the checks and then finish our meeting? Because that's the alternative.
If it's on the agenda, that is part of the agenda, I would probably overlook what I'm saying. But when all yous are here and you're signing checks, the door is locked and nobody has access to get in, I pounded on the door. Eric, you acknowledged that somebody was at the door, and believe me, I don't care what Evan says, it's a violation of Sunshine Act. If yous are all signing checks, yous are doing borough business. Do you question the checks? Does anybody question them?
More than once.
Well, that's why they're on the agenda.
That's
to
why
begin
they're
with,
on
Frank.
the
Every
agenda.
single check that is signed here is approved through the finance report at every meeting,
Right.
right? So all they're doing is signing those checks that have been authorized at the meeting. So there's no discussion of those checks.
Which can lead to discussion, and it creates you a separate meeting. You have another private meeting other than that council meeting. That is not right.
It's not a meeting.
It's not right.
Okay.
You say what you want to say.
Okay.
And Frank, sometimes the public's actually here too.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
people don't always leave. They come up and want to talk to us or whatever.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are people from the public here while we're sitting here signing checks.
If you have a quorum after the meeting, if you're doing it during the meeting, I don't have a problem with it. But after the meeting, your council meeting that was duly authorized was over, and you have a right to disperse. Or you're supposed to disperse. Anytime there's a quorum, believe me, and I'm sure at them meetings, if this is the way it's going on after the meeting, and then to lock the doors, not an advertised meeting. I'm sorry, Mr. Solicitor, you're wrong too.
If you are not discussing agency business.
It doesn't matter what you're discussing, you
It
have a
absolutely
quorum.
does. That is
You
the
have a
definition.
quorum. No.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
I got a
I'm not
copy.
going to get into a debate with what the Sunshine Act says with you, Frank. But if you, it is what it is. The act very specifically defines what an open meeting is.
Yes, I have the copy right here.
Exactly.
I got a copy of the Sunshine Act right there.
Okay. And it says if you are discussing agency business with a quorum of the members of the agency, in this case, Borough Council, right? It's very specific about that. It's not just if a quorum of the members happen to be at Griddles, right? Or at Hinkle's. That doesn't make it a meeting. If they're not discussing agency business, right? If they're talking about what their kids did this weekend, that does not make it a meeting that the public is,
No,
that is
but-
open to the public.
But if it talks about business that has happened at the council meeting or upcoming business or
Yeah, correct.
it
That would be a
doesn't,
violation of the Sunshine, 100%. But that's not what's happening here. They're signing
well,
the checks that were authorized at the meeting.
you know, and I know, you can tell me that, but I'm not there at the meeting, so I don't see it. So I can't wholly follow that.
All right.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add to that at this point.
No.
But anyway, that was my main issue. Thank you.
All right.
I think so.
Yeah, Sharon.
Sharon Lintner, just because you brought my name into it, Heather, I just wanted to clarify, when I first started on council, we did only have either one or two people come to the Borough Hall and sign the checks.
Yes.
Because I sat here alone many a time just going through them,
Yes.
and then one time I think you and I sat and did them
Yes.
together. So we never had a quorum of people. I think that's what he was headed for.
Right. But
But-
the issue with that, Sharon, was that we were signing checks before they were approved.
Okay,
And
yeah,
then Evan told us that, no, absolutely, you are doing it wrong.
okay. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I
Yes.
remember we did it that way. We
I-
never had a quorum sitting
Right,
there
I know we
signing.
did. Yeah, I
Okay.
know we did.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else that did not get a chance to sign up that wanted to speak? All right, minutes for approval. Could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for December 23rd, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman.
Can I say something?
Yeah, hold on one second. Second by Councilperson Stahl to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for December 23rd, 2024. Yes.
On here, there is an error. It says that myself being voted back onto the police pension, that there were 6 votes of yes. There were only 4 of us here and I had to abstain, so there were only 3 votes. There weren't 6.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Thank you. That's a
And I
good
picked
catch.
that up on, it's on, I don't know what page it's on.
I missed it.
Yeah, I just noticed that it said 6 and there weren't 6 people here to be able to do that. It's on page 2.
Oh, yep, there it
It says
is.
motion carried and that's,
It's
incorrect.
11. Oh, excuse me. 11A. Nine. So if we approve these, we would be approving them with a revision to item 11A9 being all,
3 yes.
3 yes. Motion carried. Easy abstained. Anything else? Thank you. I missed that one.
no, you're welcome.
All right. I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl to approve the minutes with the correction. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council workshop minutes for January 7th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl to approve the Borough Council workshop meeting minutes for January 7th, 2025. Any questions or comments? Yes, Sharon?
We had a little bit of a discussion about the minutes when you weren't here, Evan. And I just had a quick question about the minutes from the January 7th meeting. I know that, Eric, you had mentioned making the minutes more like the agenda and not so detailed. But I beg to differ with that, and it goes against what you had told us at one point. I don't have your quote with me, but anyway, it just says here that I inquired about the Smart Growth Grant and its current standing. We have more than one Smart Growth Grant, and there's no telling which one I was asking for if you look at the minutes.
I don't think we have more than one right now.
Well,
No. we
there
don't.
is another one, because I think that, if I'm not mistaken, Walnut Street was listed somewhere as a
No,
smart,
that's the multimodal.
well, not according to what I read, but,
It's smart growth funding. It's not
okay.
It's not a smart growth grant.
Smart growth
growth
funding is different than smart growth grant.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, it still doesn't tell what I was asking for information on. And it was the drone grant that had been denied. So that's why I just didn't know if we're not going to provide even that much detail. But anyway, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl to approve the Borough Council workshop minutes for January 7th, 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Presentation and acceptance of reports, community development.
I'd like to acknowledge the receipt of the Columbia Borough Market House report for December 2024. Any questions? Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Frank.
Eric,
Yes, sir.
If I asked you, what does the pretzel stand, how much do they pay a month for that? What would you tell me?
I would tell you, I do not know that answer. And that Steve is working with Chris to get the prices based on square footage straightened out. Right now, some people aren't paying as much as others based on square footage. And they're trying to work that out with contracts. But I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
If I asked you any other stand in there, could you tell me?
No, I just know what the square footage rate is.
Okay, thank you.
Public Works and Property.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge the acceptance of the Public Works and Property Report for December 2024. Thanks again to Jake and the crew that make our streets drivable in the snow, and looking forward to some more potential white stuff coming.
No, we're not looking forward to white stuff coming.
Well, we aren't looking in the past to the stuff that's coming either. So. Can only look forward.
I don't even have to follow the weather report. I just look out, and when I see those lines on the street, I'm like, oh, we must be
We're getting snow. I know, same.
All right, Mayor Lutz, Chief Brommer.
Couple quickies. Well, one may not be so quick. The recent weather we had with the snow and the winds, thank God we're not in California, but with the wind, traveling around the borough, I see a lot of trash cans, lids, boxes, other things out in the street. Just today, I went up Locust Street, there was a box in the middle of the street. A person went clear on the other side of the road to get around it rather than stop, get the box off the street and move it over to the curb. People should, if they see this, people who are driving on our streets, if you see a trash can lid, boxes or whatever have you out on the street, please take a second and stop and move them to the curb. I've seen trash can lids that people ran over top of it. I priced a new trash can not long ago, and they're quite expensive. They're very expensive. So when you go running over them lids, you cause someone considerable monetary damage. But still, even at that, you run a risk of damaging your vehicle running over it. But take a minute and move that stuff off the road. The other thing is, I have seen over the last several weeks, I haven't seen them yet. Yeah, I did. I saw them today. Asplin is trimming trees. I shouldn't even call it trimming trees. They're butchering trees. If you go on North 11th Street, it looks like the Lord's standing there with his arms extended because that's the way the tree is cut. It's absolutely disgusting. Had I had a tree on my property like that, I probably would have to pay considerable money to take it down because it's so unsightly. And some of these are beautiful old trees that they're cutting the center right out of. And I remember a couple of years ago, up on Chestnut Street, we had two beautiful oak trees that got chopped up and caused considerable problem. The issue I have, and I'm going to go to the next shade tree meeting. Shade Tree has control of our street trees. So who has the rights to those trees? Shade Tree or PPL?
If they are in the right of way of those electric utility lines, it's going to be the electric utility
And
or
I thought so,
telephone
Evan,
utility at all times.
but with that said, PPL could be a little conservation minded and a little beauty minded and possibly offer residents, they could say, look, we're going to cut the center out of your tree. Here's X amount of dollars to help you remove that tree and plant something that's more appropriate or whatever have you. They could be a better steward to the community rather than just going in and damaging our trees. Trees are very important. And we have a shade tree commission that is striving and working hard to create and keep a tree canopy in this community. I had a tree that they chopped up a couple years ago, and it wasn't a street tree. It was in my yard. They damaged it so bad that during one of the windstorms, it busted it up. I had to pay a couple $1,000s to have it removed. They came up about 2 weeks ago and wanted to trim the tree in my yard, and I wouldn't let them. That's in my yard. But a note to the people of this community: if you have a tree in your yard, it's your tree. It's not in the right of way. You have a right to talk to them and tell them, keep your hands off your tree rather than butcher up. But we need to do something about these street trees that wind up being unsightly. And like I say, I'm gonna try to get to the next Shade Tree Commission meeting and talk to them about this. Maybe we need to start taking some of those trees down and putting appropriate trees in. And I have talked about this for quite a few years. You gotta manage your urban canopy. And there are places on our streets where there aren't overhead wires, and we could put trees in there. There are places in our community where there are overhead wires, and you could put trees in there of a species that wouldn't get up to cause that problem. Or as they get up to that point, they're taken down and replanted. And there's nothing wrong with renewing your urban forest or your urban canopy.
Right.
So I think rather than have things look that bad, I think this bears more of a discussion. And I'm going to take it to the shade tree, see what we can do about it. And that's all I have. Chief, you have anything?
I do, nothing at this time.
Yeah, Frank.
Yes, Frank.
Leo, was that asphalt? Asphalt.
Yes.
Yeah, they were down my place practically all day, mine and some of the neighbors. The trees were getting into the wires, the transformer. Okay, then I have a question for you or the chief. I had a brainstorm on Sunday and I decided to come down to the police department. I came, the front door was locked to get into the main, so I went back the ramp up to the door. I rang the doorbell 3 times. I left it go through the whole cycle each time. I turned around and looked, there was 1 police car outside. So I left, I come back at 10:30, went up the ramp, hit the doorbell 3 times again. It went through 3 times, I went through the cycle. Nobody come to the door. Now there was 3 police cars outside. So what's the protocol for maybe the weekend, maybe Saturday and Sunday, I don't know. I'm only asking, this only ever happened to me. So if I would need a policeman over the weekend, I know you come to the door and it says dial 911. So I don't know what that curtails. I don't know how soon somebody will get there then, but what's the story on?
On the front door, Frank, there is a notice. It says for emergencies, dial 911.
Yes.
There's also a non-emergency number. So if you're unable, if the door is secured, locked, and no one is in the lobby or the police dispatch, call that 7735 number. And that will ensure that if an officer that's out on the street will come back and they'll be able to meet with you and address your needs.
Okay, so I'll have access to an officer right down at the number. Okay. I didn't know what I wanted. The police had picked it up a little female beagle. And I was in the office Friday, talked to the lady, and she said she didn't know anything about it, but they usually take them out to the dog shelter. I went to the dog shelter Monday, and nobody knew nothing about it. So I thought, I already went to the police station, didn't find out nothing there. I still don't know nothing about it, but somebody ought to have a record of that.
Which shelter did you go to?
Allen 462.
The Columbia Animal Hospital?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
they couldn't tell me nothing. And there was 5 girls there, and they said maybe somebody claimed it.
Yeah, it's quite possible that we located the owner.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
I did want to mention to you, though, there were a number of months ago, you had made a request about maybe placing something on social media. You're not sure that we have so many new officers, and I don't know if you recall making those statements to me, but we started a an officer recognition, monthly officer recognition program based on, your suggestion. So, on social media, on Crime Watch or Crime Watch page, we're actually introducing our new officers to the community. So I'm not sure if you had gotten a chance to see that or not.
No, I didn't. You made me think of something though, Jack. I think you joined a program where you're going to be retiring within 3 years of that program. Am I correct?
Much less,
Uh,
much less time. But yes, I'm in the drop.
Do you know about when you're leaving?
It's going to be about a year from now, a little over a year,
Okay.
16 months.
The only reason I'm asking, because I didn't hear nothing about you putting resumes out there for other chiefs. And I thought, well, I didn't want to go to the last minute and do this. So I thought, well, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you.
Well, this was actually discussed at the last meeting. There is a succession plan that we're working on. So we're
Okay.
preparing our supervisory staff now to assume, other roles. We also, within the budget, we added a lieutenant position. And this is what we envision as maybe the successor to the chief, possibly.
Okay, well, I brought it up for that reason,
Sure.
just so it didn't go to the end.
All right, action items. Could I have a motion to adopt resolution 2025-01, setting the borough fee schedule for fiscal year 2025?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Brigard, to adopt resolution 2025-01, setting the borough fee schedule for fiscal year 2025. Questions?
Yeah, I just wanted for clarification, can you explain under code violation, quick ticket fees, first offense $25, what was the decision for the second and third and ongoing offenses then? Because that's changed from the last.
Yeah, I don't think
Fees,
there was,
correct?
there is no second or third. If it's,
be an NOV.
it's just an NOV.
Got it. Just for the record.
Yep. Yes, Frank.
I'm soon going to be getting warm from getting up and getting down. I can take my coat off. The question I asked you, Eric, I want to try to bring this up now. I was here when they looked over the fee schedules for all the different entities, codes, police, what have you, but never nothing on the market house. So I wanted to see what you might know, being you're over that. So if you don't know what the fees are and nobody is setting the scheduling.
So we just recently determined a square foot price. And we are in the process of measuring out each stand based on square footage. And we have new contracts being written up so that they can start the new pricing. So the pricing is based on square foot. It's not a fee per stand, not a fee per time. It's based on square foot.
So just like here, had a wedding reception, baby shower, sweet 16 party. If you don't have a set fee, I could go in and they could charge me more. Well, now he probably knows, but I want to know the people that's in charge because this is a losing proposition. If we're losing $15,000, $20,000 a year, why aren't we singling all these out? And no, if I went in, I'd want to know how much for a birthday party. There's got to be something.
We don't include the price of our rentals on the fee schedule. It's separate.
Why?
It's
It's its own contract. It's a
its
rental.
own contract.
Yeah.
It's not,
So who sets them fees?
well, they're already set and it's $100 an hour to rent the market house.
Yeah.
Or 125,
I just put up the
Yep.
125 per hour.
125 an hour.
For a wedding reception, it's $1,250.
Regardless what it is, regardless if it's a shower or there's no.
He just said a wedding is $1,250. A reception, yeah.
So did any of you know that?
Yeah.
You know it.
I thought it was going up. I didn't know if
It would
had
be
already
nice
been
here.
going on.
You have everything here that the people that rented it, and the date that they rented it, but it don't have what they paid. If I was sitting there, I'd want to know what's coming in, and maybe I could add it up and make sure everything's copacetic. Okay.
Any other questions on the fee schedule?
Just one, going back to my notes, actually, with the false alarms, we actually have 3. I thought it was only gonna be 2.
This actually follows state law.
Okay,
Yes. So after that.
I know we
was
had
brought to
talked-
my attention, I double checked.
Okay.
Yes.
just want to make sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Brigard, to adopt Resolution 2025-01, setting the borough fee schedule for fiscal year 2025. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-02, appointing Michelle Jenkins as Deputy Tax Collector?
So moved.
Second.
The motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Murphy, to adopt Resolution 2025-02, appointing Michelle Jenkins as the Deputy Tax Collector. This is being done, if you remember before, the finance manager was the Deputy Tax Collector. We transferred it to Laurie temporarily while we did not have a finance manager. Now we're moving it back to the finance manager. Questions, comments, concerns?
Madam President.
Yes,
The duly elected tax collector
yes,
is charged with collecting the taxes, both, I'll call it borough and county taxes and school tax. That tax collector can appoint an assistant, a deputy, or whatever, whichever way you want to call it. We call it deputy tax collector. That tax collector has to do that. Do we have that agreement?
yes, we do. It was not included in the packet, but we do have it.
No, I believe you, Heather. It was a matter of housekeeping in my mind.
No, yeah, because
That
I noticed that we didn't have that in the packet, and I stopped in today to make sure that we had the that it's called the Exhibit A that attaches to the resolution. We do have that, so that, yeah, because basically the duly elected tax collector has deputized the borough, but you can't deputize the entity. It has to be an individual person, so.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure that we were going about that the right way, because there have been a lot of changes here in the last couple of years of who that person is.
Yes. Yes.
And we did have a new tax collector, and I didn't know if that was all discussed and cleaned up.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? The motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Murphy, to adopt Resolution 2025-02, appointing Michelle Jenkins as the Deputy Tax Collector. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Let's see, could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-03, appointing Christopher Rivera to the Parks and Recreation for a 4-year term?
So moved.
Second.
The motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Geezy, to adopt Resolution 2025-03, appointing Chris Vera to the Parks and Recreation Board for a 4-year term. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I'll make a comment. Any volunteers that we get that are qualified, that meet the qualifications, I think it's necessary right now to get on that board, so that board can function properly. the more the board is doing events and being out there, the more interest it will draw. But we've had, for the last 5 years that I've been on council, we've had hit or miss Parks and Recs. So I think we have people trying to improve it, and that's why I voted the way I have in the past, and I will on this one the same.
Do we have what's our policy for borough employees being on
We do not,
volunteer boards?
we do not have one, as
Mhm.
long as it's not a incompatible
Office.
office, which would be like,
Like
zoning
a,
hearing board
okay.
or planning commission. Yes,
The timer.
No.
The timer.
2 minutes.
I'd just like to let everybody know, you know, my heart is in Columbia, working with the children and things like that. I am currently working with the Columbia School District. We're going to be putting history from grade 1 to 12 of Columbia history into the curriculum, something they haven't done in many, many years. I'm working with the superintendents currently. I'll be doing a whole day of in-service with all the teachers up at Columbia on February 14th. I have 6 classes to teach on the history of Columbia. I have a 4th grade class coming in the next month to do a tour with. I think, you know, being outreach programs, you know, for these children in our town is a must. I do have 7 years of coaching girls basketball at Penn Manor and 15 years of coaching men's softball. So the recreational part just, you know, is my strong background, just not events, of course. But my big background is to get these parks back and running. Steve and I are going to be meeting with Carl Graybill from the Lancaster Coalition. He's part of the Lancaster Public Works. He is offering us free bicycle racks and bicycle repair stations, and these will probably go into our parks. That is a must. We really need those in our parks. We don't have any. So we'll be meeting with him on Friday afternoon. So these are strong points where we need to start working with the citizens of Columbia that make it a stronger park presence. This is one thing. I mean, I grew up in our park system. It was the best time of my life. We need to bring that back to our kids and get them out of the house and get them in. I talked to Michelle about having a summer Olympics, you know, working with the school district, you know, get the kids out, you know, then October they can parade up the streets with their medals they've earned. Things like that, you know, that make a stronger community is my goal in the whole part of the Parks and Rec. So, all right. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
How many members would this bring us up to on the Parks and Rec?
Active or on the board?
On the board.
I believe 5.
how many active?
Active. 3 or
3?
3 to 4.
3 for even 4.
Yes.
Can I ask a clarifying question with that?
Sure.
What our policy on non-attendance or like an attendance, what makes a board member inactive? And is that possible according to our policy?
Well, we don't have a policy, but every member of every board serves at the pleasure of council.
Mhm,
If we have inactive members or members that are not showing up,
mhm.
it is on us to make that decision to remove them.
But don't we have, like, initially in the appointment or in the bylaws of that board, don't we have an expectation that meetings are attended?
Each board sets their own bylaws. We don't set that.
We currently do not have that in our bylaws.
They do not have that in their bylaws. I don't think most boards do not.
Okay.
We may
So-
consider doing that for this year.
But yeah, I mean,
Council's okay.
typically, you know, what I've told boards is if you have members that are not participating, that they're not,
Mhm.
you know,
Showing.
showing up at the, you know, if the chair comes to us and says, look, we need to get this person off. We have other people that want to be on,
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, it's up to us to remove them.
I will say we have one other volunteer who will probably present their application for the next meeting, for your next meeting. It's Bonnie Link. She's very interested. She ran programs with her school out of Baltimore for park programs. So she's a pretty good candidate, and I'm excited for that. She's excited. She loves Columbia. She does a lot here. So I did want to let you know we do have one more coming.
Okay.
So we know how many we will have. Thank you.
Yes, Frank.
I like to hear you say that. Yes, Frank. But
I
anyway,
figured.
I missed the last meeting, but my understanding was Chris was turned down. So now he's going to be voted in, most likely. What turned around there? What happened?
At the work session, we discussed the direction of Parks and Rec. And we had said, several of us, the rationale for voting no was that we wanted to make sure that council wanted Parks and Rec's direction to be geared toward events. And at the work session, that was the thought, was that yes, council would like the direction of Parks and Rec to be events. With that being said, it came back to put him on if that's the direction we want it to go.
Okay, just making you accountable. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? The motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Giese, to adopt Resolution 2025-03, appointing Christopher Rivera to Parks and Recreation Board for a 4-year term. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, we're asked to consider appointing Borough Manager Steve Kaufhold as the Open Records Officer. This was always typically done. We've always had our Open Records Officer be the Borough Manager. So this is just cleaning that up and appointing him into that role. Do I have a motion to appoint the Borough Manager Steve Kaufhold as Open Records Officer?
So moved.
Second.
The motion by Councilperson Murphy, second by Councilperson Giese, to appoint Borough Manager Steve Kaufhold as the Open Records Officer. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to appoint Michelle Jenkins as the alternate Open Records Officer?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Giese, second by Councilperson Murphy, to appoint Michelle Jenkins as alternate Open Records Officer.
So I have a question.
Yes,
The chief is currently, or was currently,
the alternate, but then he was the full, yes.
so why would we remove him from alternate? I get Michelle, because on this side, the chain of command flows down through,
Mhm.
but also that side. I understand, Steve, you and I talked about this, so I understand your point as far as you wanting to be the officer, the main officer.
Sure.
But alternate wise, and I don't disagree with Michelle, I just don't understand why we're not including the chief
As an additional one?
as an alternate, maybe, possibly. I don't know. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, the wrong thing.
Chief, weren't you
Having two
appointed when we
alternates?
didn't have a borough manager during this time when we didn't have a
Yes.
borough manager? So
Yes.
my personal opinion on that move was it was to fill a need until we got a borough manager. That's how I saw it.
So I'm still performing that role on the.
When you're-
police
yeah,
department.
absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Right, and Steve will, I mean, Steve just wants to be aware of everything, so he will direct it your way. I get that. I totally do. Just asking. Just asking.
It's going to be delegated to whichever department the right to know comes from anyway. You know, if it's a police matter, go to the police department. It's finance, obviously, would stay in finance. Codes would go to Paula. So, but just to keep a list and have it regulated, you know, it'll have a proper chain to go through. So.
Fair enough.
Any other questions? No. All right. I have a motion by Councilperson Geezy, second by Councilperson Murphy, to appoint Michelle Jenkins as alternate open records officer. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to authorize the renewal of TextMyGov with limited and refined use? Motion by Councilperson Brigard, second by Councilperson Geezy, to authorize the renewal of TextMyGov. Questions?
There was a lot of discussion about the one list,
Mhm.
Madam President,
Mhm.
that really jacked up the
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
We can ensure that that doesn't happen,
Heather,
because it was my understanding that we didn't know that was happening.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. We didn't really know that it was happening. We do have the option to choose that list or not choose that list. Through further thought, there's no real sense of getting rid of that list. If we have some massive emergency, we're going to be able to contact more people. However, that shouldn't be our day-to-day or we want to use primarily the list that people opted in. And we want to
So in other words, you're telling me you can choose how many people that's sent to?
Well, we can choose.
I'll just use, for this analogy, A and B. A, just those that signed up. B, everybody that's under 17512,
That is correct.
which is what I understand.
That is
So
correct.
you have the option to choose that on each message you send.
We were not aware of that at the time because we didn't know what was going on, but we are,
Thank you for
that's
that
what we were
explanation.
trying to do. Also, if I could just include a little bit more information, I did have some conversations with Emma from TextMyGov. We can increase our message rate by 25,000 per year. If we keep it to a one-way communication, meaning we're just saying what we have as far as emergencies and not a back-to-back question and answer type thing. If we just go to those, again, we would increase our messages, one-way conversation, would decrease our bill down to $2,700 a year versus what we were doing at $7,000. So I think it's a good direction. After talking to Todd, it still allows us a lot of growth in that area. But they were upcharging us for the communication side, the fact that somebody could text in, but in all reality, it wasn't really happening anyway. So that's what I see as far as kind of limited in scope, yet still being able to provide the service that you were looking for.
Is that the Q&A?
Yes.
Yeah, that was actually a separate text
Right.
subscription that you had to sign up for in order to access that component, that service. Really inconvenient, didn't make sense to me. Nice feature, if you had staff to populate the questions and the responses and be able to manage that, but just have everything go. Check the website. You can probably do that anyway. I think sticking with TextMyGov at this point is the best thing to do. We could go to other options, but we have people already opted in, 600 something. Why try to wrangle those 600 some to sign up for something different for no reason?
I did look into a couple different options, and one that Barb recommended, which was like the reverse 911, which is available for the county, but again, it's for the county. So obviously, if we have an issue in Columbia, we don't want to necessarily notify the whole county that there's an emergency here. So I didn't think that worked. So it still seems like a very good program if we use it for an emergencies. So
And how many did you say, 20, how many thousand texts?
So we're up to now 75,000 messages that we can send out in a year's time, or text for that matter.
Right.
So we have 600, and the number changes, but 625.
Oh, so it's not sending out one text, it's sending out,
It'll
it
be
count all
sending-
600 or whatever?
Yeah, so that's where we were getting big inflated prices. And if you send out too large of a text, then it becomes 2 messages.
So that's 125 text messages.
Correct.
A year.
It's more than.
So
You think?
125,000.
No, you're doing
No.
the math on how many individual texts we could do considering 600 opt-ins, right?
Right.
If it's used for emergencies and not 3 times, I mean,
Yep.
we don't want to be using it 3 times, 4 times a week for small little announcements.
But I think the people have grown accustomed to the
Yeah.
text of this street is closed or
No street sweeper
the
today.
street sweeper's not running.
Right.
I think
But
there's
at that-
room for those kinds of texts as well.
That's
but
2.4
not 2
a
a
week.
day like we were doing
Right.
before.
So 2 a week
Street
still
closures.
gives room for some of that stuff.
Well,
And as opt-ins increase, which we plan on doing, the number, when you do the math, will be fewer messages as the
Right.
opt-ins go up. We
Right.
use our
And we have to make sure that when we're sending them, they're succinct so that they're not going the thing
Yes.
to go into 2 texts.
We talked about developing some canned text for
Yep.
certain situations, so all you need to do is copy and paste it in, or long enough.
And we have to make sure that the correct before they go out, so we're not sending them and then having to send a correction out, because that's happened before as well.
so Steve, the pricing went from, I think you said 7,000 to what?
2,700.
Yeah, so we're looking at 2,700. I had our contact, her name is Emma. I had Emma send me over a contract, which I should have either now or tomorrow.
And can we buy additional
We can.
reasonably?
I guess it depends on what you say is reasonably, but the prices are on there. I think it was like $750 for 50,000,
Okay.
if I remember correctly.
So I mean, that's
Kind of, it's one of those progressive packages. So the more you buy, the cheaper it is
Right.
per
Yeah.
those. But I will certainly get you a copy of the whole contract.
No, I just,
No, I mean, it'd be nice that you see it because it's kind of spelled out in there.
I'm happy with cutting the price in half as it is, because I didn't want to lose this service. I do like getting street sweeper notifications. I do like getting road closures.
Like the budget, will you get a monthly, in other words, will you know monthly where you are on that number?
So you mean as far as how many messages we use?
Yeah,
I think, Mayor, I think we can do that at any time.
okay.
So,
'Cause I don't know if you all were aware of it, but when this subject came up, I was totally unaware that we were, I'll say, over the amount we could use. I never saw a
Right.
report saying, hey, we're getting up to that limit where it's going to start costing us more money.
I didn't even know there was a
Yeah,
there
so
was a limit or
it's
any of
good that
that.
we can track this. And as you said, Steve, you can add minutes and all, and that's a decision you'll have to make.
Right.
But like you, Eric, I like to see it continue, but it needs to be monitored so you know where you stand.
Right.
Thank you.
Did we sign a contract in June for until June of this year? Or how does that work?
No, when I talked to Emma, the way it was, originally you signed a 2-year contract. After that 2-year contract, it becomes a 1-year contract. And I kind of was putting it in a situation where we're not sure if we're going to continue on with this. So she was more than happy to start us on a new contract, which
Okay.
should be in my inbox.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay?
Good work.
All right. Any other questions? motion by Councilperson Bernard, second by Councilperson Geezy to authorize the renewal of the text my gov with limited and refined use. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, I have a motion to authorize the bill payments.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Geezy to authorize the bill payments. Are there any questions? Yes, Sharon?
Regarding the Walnut Street project again, I see under Derek, under the CS Davidson, 16,398. Is that project moving forward? I was thinking somewhere along the line, they talked about putting it on hold or something.
No, the project is scheduled to bid in June of this
Oh,
year.
okay.
Yeah,
And-
and I believe that is 2 months worth of bills on that
I
project.
thought it might be
Yeah.
because the total was like
That's 2 months worth of
49,000.
bills, but we are in the home stretch right now. I reported to the manager and staff this morning. We are currently inputting the quantities for the project in the PennDOT bidding system, the ECMS system. This has to be bid through PennDOT. We can't bid it locally because of the funding.
Okay, because
so
it does
we're-
say smart growth on here,
Yeah, it's smart.
So that's
it's
the
smart
funding.
growth funding is what that is.
but a grant is funding as well.
It's a different, it was a grant to the borough, but it's not it's not called that.
Okay,
Believe me, Sharon, I called it, I probably have called that. I probably have called it that in meetings. I was corrected by people from the county who administer it, that's not what we
Okay.
call it.
yeah, I didn't know there was a difference, so
Yeah.
I appreciate knowing that. And can you just explain to me what Rivertown Estates is?
That's the proposed, housing plan over on 9th Street.
Okay, I thought it might be, but I wasn't sure of the name of that. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
On the Walnut Street, are we gonna have to go back to the county to revise the cost for the building to get the money for it? Or are we gonna fit in that initial?
I'm actually looking at that right now. I believe we're gonna go back to the county and ask for around another $200,000, which would cut it. I evaluated the last cost estimate we did, which was in December of 2023. That was where we came to that 1.35 million. Looking at it now a year later, we're probably a little north of the 1.4 million range, just inflation. And again, that cost estimate is based on the average index numbers that we can pull out of PennDOT's ECMS program. So we can look at all of the projects that have been bid through the program, look at the items that we have in ours, and find what the unit costs were. So some of them we averaged up, some of them we averaged down. It's still an estimate. Where the other $100,000 comes from is because this project is funded through PennDOT, it will be required to have a PennDOT inspector, which the borough will have to pay, which they estimate is about 10% of the construction cost. So if we pull 10% out of what we already have and we add another 100 grand to it, then we're about a $200,000 shortfall right now that we'll work to get.
Well, initially it was 800,000, right?
Yeah, we were awarded an additional, I think, right around $540,000 over the additional. So the current grant amount is consistent to the dollar with what my December 2023 estimate was, 1.345, around there. Don't quote me exactly, but. so,
Yeah, because I think that was in one of our tip changes.
Yeah, it was. So it would have, we made the request in December of 23 and it was approved in June or July of 24.
That's right.
So-
Yeah, 'cause I think, I remember seeing that.
So what I discussed with staff today is we will need to we'll have a revised estimate. All it is an estimate.
Right.
The main thing we need to be worried about is what are the bids going to come in at.
Right.
So I am opening a dialogue with our project coordinator and the county to make sure that we have the funds available to at least match up with the estimate. Once the bids are open, that's another piece of the dialogue to understand what money may or may not be available if the bids come high or if the bids come low. We'll just have to see what that looks like.
All right.
We also have other grant opportunities we could pursue to cover that shortfall. So I'm not concerned at this point. I think we'll be able to fund it.
Wasn't that a Main Street project or not? Not Main Street. It's called something else.
Multimodal, is that?
No, I thought it was something else.
Multimodal was what they were looking at for Chestnut Street. That was the
Okay.
grant with the lights.
With the lighting on 462,
Yeah, the
correct.
lights.
Yeah. Yeah, this is smart growth funding through the county, which comes to the county from PennDOT, which is why we have the strings attached of the PennDOT approvals and bidding and oversight.
I saw on here, there is the payment to, National Gunite. I thought our grant paid that.
It will, it's a reimbursement grant.
Okay, it's a reimbursement grant.
Yeah.
Okay,
That grant's through DCED, so we have to pay National Gunite and then we can request reimbursement.
all right. I just wanted to make sure because I was like, wait a minute, I thought.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Geezy to authorize the bill payments. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to authorize to advertise the bid for demolition at 700 Franklin Street?
So moved.
Second.
The motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Kaufman to authorize staff to advertise the bid for demolition at 700 Franklin Street. Questions, comments, concerns?
And I'll
Yep.
point this to Terry. Terry, there's a lot of good things in there that's salvageable. Consideration when we're bidding, when we're asking for bids. In other words, they're just not, I know this, they're just not gonna go in there and tear it down. They're gonna take all that stuff out of there that's usable and sell it or reuse it.
A demolition contractor can do that, yes. So, couple
But I
different.
think we need to keep that in mind as we're going out and taking bids.
Well,
receiving bids.
the borough owns the home. The borough has the option to go in and rip out of whatever you may want to rip out of it if you so choose. If not, you may just put the home out to bid in its current standard, and really that approach to salvage, Mayor, that would be reflected in a contractor's bid of how hungry they might be. So.
Well, and you just, you
Yeah.
just laid something out that crossed in my mind. Would it be to the borough's advantage to, I look at people who are remodeling properties, remodeling homes and all, they may be willing to go in and pay X amount of dollars for the kitchen cabinets and those type things, maybe the furnace, whatever have you, that's in that property, that we could offset some of the cost of the demolition if we did that.
It's up to council. How you want to authorize me to do that? Evan, I don't know what.
Well, some of that
Yeah.
cabinets and stuff we can use in the public works
There
building.
you go.
Right?
You know, I'm a scrounge and I hate to see
Right.
someone make money on good stuff that we're throwing away.
I would say that, anyways, I don't think we'll see any reflection of the value that's in there in a demolitions bid. I don't think
No.
that'll happen. So I'm all for it if there's space in the schedule that it doesn't, certain things are harder to get than they're worth, but
I don't think
there's
any
value
push
there
to
that we
tear the
can.
building down.
April 1st.
April 1st.
Why?
That's
You're not gonna move any dirt there on April 1st.
Eric,
That's the goal we're marching towards.
speak up.
That's the goal we're marching towards.
April 1st is our goal.
No, that's a couple months away.
Right.
I mean, I agree with someone that said, maybe you said it. Could Jake go in there and take a look at it?
Yeah,
Go
I'd
through there, take a look at that property and say, yeah, I can use this stuff.
He'd be as good a judge as anybody.
I mean, we're all about, we're talking about,
Well,
we're
right.
talking about this budget year, and we're talking about saving money. Y'all did a wonderful thing just now with the Text My Gov. If we can save a buck here and there, I think we ought to do it.
I agree, but I don't want,
If not, let me go in and get someone.
I don't want,
We
well,
don't,
if you do, can you get me a toilet? Because I need a
Are
toilet.
you talking like the kitchen fixtures? Are you talking like?
Yeah,
Jake
like
and
the
Wilson.
kitchen cabinets, things like that there. Could they be used up in
We
the
don't
public
have to-
works building? Could they be used somewhere else?
Well,
Is there a stove in there? An air conditioning unit?
Yeah, we've had a lot of, and again,
we don't have.
this had to be discussed tonight, and this is all good information, but there have been a number of discussions about taking the cabinets and the appliances out of there and trying to repurpose them up in the new public works building. I'm sure there are other things of value that can be salvaged out of there, and I'm not opposed to evaluating doing that. I think the decision you have to make here at council is how are you going to accomplish that? What staff effort are you going to put into it? And
Exactly.
what might your return be?
Yeah, that's where
I
struggle.
I don't think,
Exactly.
we don't have to vote on some, in my opinion, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have to vote on that. Steve, Jake, and Wilson can go down there and just see what's worth taking it out.
Right.
And
I
take
mean,
it out whenever.
and take it out.
And if it's not out by the time the demolition comes up,
And if they
Well, that-
can't use it, we can put it on, government auction or whatever,
Yeah, we can
GovPlanet.
put it on municipal.
Put the furnace on municipal or whatever.
But don't we have to have? I guess not.
We own the property. It's,
It's not like when you total a car and they make sure you didn't take the speakers out of it. It's not like that.
I think Pete's idea is a good idea.
That's it.
Let public work, Wilson, whoever, go in there, see what they can use. If they can use it, get it out of there. If it's not out of there by a certain time to meet Derek's deadline, okay.
I
then
get appliances, but when you start taking cabinets out, if those cabinets don't meet exactly the specs that you're building for a kitchen in office, whatever, then you gotta have modifications and everything else. And you have storage costs, you have taking out costs, you have modification costs. It adds up quick.
I don't think we have any storage costs. You got enough buildings around here to store cabinets in.
Still costs money.
I was just a little concerned because normally when we are authorizing to advertise, we actually see what we're bidding out, and all we got was the executive summary.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's nothing,
I don't have the bid packet prepared yet.
oh, you don't?
I do not.
Okay,
No.
so this is.
We are literally at the start line right now. I have not moved I have not put any effort into creating a bid packet for demolition.
Oh, so we're just
Um,
authorizing you at this point to put together the bid packet.
You can do that. I am asking for authorization to advertise just so I don't have to come back and ask for it again.
Okay.
But I wasn't anticipating this level of discussion tonight. So
Oh, okay.
we can very easily just authorize me to prepare the packet. If so, I need a little bit more direction, or else not much is going to change from my ask tonight to what my ask might be in a month from now.
Well, I mean, you're still, if we're authorizing you to prepare the bid packet and you say you need more information.
No, I'm just saying, I shouldn't say that. I don't believe there's any more information you're going to give me that's going to impact how I prepare the bid packet.
Okay.
My bid packet is going to look the same whether there's kitchen cabinets in it or not.
Okay,
But there's going to need to be a cutoff date at which point this goes out for advertisement. And as soon as it's advertised, contractors will be permitted to come in and look at the place, and we can't be taking anything else out of it because
Right.
their bid may very well reflect, hey, there was a brand new water heater in there and I will salvage that. There's +5, again,
right.
it'd be very difficult to say if you're going to get the total value out of it. But if there's a lot of nice stuff that can be salvaged in there, you may get a more competitive bid for somebody who thinks they can make some bucks off of what's in there.
Right.
So I mean, if you want to table this tonight, that's fine, or just authorize me to prepare the bid packet, that's fine. I just need to know what the intention of the borough might be and how much time you all want with the building.
I'm fine authorizing to advertise, knowing that he still has to prepare the bid packet. That still gives us time to go in there. If we tell staff now to go in, get out what you want, we can get him, we can get the bid packet done and advertise so that we can stay on our,
And
on our
even if it's
timeline.
not pulled out, I'm sure you could tag it. So any contractors going in can say, that water heater's tagged, that's not part of it.
We'll get it out if we want it.
Yeah.
I
So,
agree.
I would rather march forward and not have to come back a month from now just to say, oh, okay, we have the whole packet, let's go and advertise it.
Agreed.
Just get it
there's
moving.
there unfortunately won't be any really pretty plans for you to look at like
No.
you're used to. It's going to be a pretty boring plan set.
I know.
Hopefully,
but-
really.
With an X on it.
All right, but that's to see it, so that's why
I
I'm
know.
like, wait a minute, what? All right, yes, Frank.
Leo, I'm glad you brought this up because it needed to be talked about. Derek, I wouldn't want to be in your position on this. How do you write that up? You bid it the way it is, or you bid it with things taken out? If you bid it with things taken out, if I'm a bidder on the property, I want to know what's being taken out, which is going to take a lot of time and effort and everything else. So let me ask you this. How was the McGinnis house bid?
The McGinnis house was bid as is. There was nothing taken out of that house.
Okay, because I'd asked somebody about the heat in there. It was cast iron baseboard heat, which is very expensive. And I know where George got it and when he put it in and all, but I asked somebody and they said, no, that's the contractor's. Never knew who the contractor was, but I'm just curious at how you're going to do this.
Yeah,
Well, it'll be the same. It'll be bid as is, because by the point that we advertise it and people start coming in to look at it, everything that we want will be out of it. So it'll be advertised to be demo as is.
Well, so you're going to take automatically what you want and then,
Yes.
okay, that makes sense that way.
Yep.
Okay.
And I just want to clarify for everyone to make sure everyone understands that this is not just the structure at 700. This is the other remaining accessory structures that are on the McGinnis property that also need to come down.
Correct.
All right. Any other questions, comments? I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Kaufman, to authorize staff to advertise the bid for demolition at 700 Franklin Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? New business. We have a special event application for the Merchants Association, the Hearts on Locust. We've done this several
Couple
years
years.
now.
Yeah.
I think this will be like the third year.
Madam President, I'm told there is an error on the executive brief. I believe it states this event will take place from the 200 block to the 500 block. It's actually 100 block of Locust Street to the 500 block.
Oh,
So I just
okay.
wanted to note that. Thank you.
Are there any questions? No, does anyone have a problem voting on this one tonight?
No.
No. Great. Do I have a motion to approve the special event application for the Merchants Association for Hearts on Locust?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Geezy, to approve the special event application for the Merchants Association of Hearts on Locust. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, and we have two HARB things. We have a motion to approve certificate of appropriateness for 114 North 3rd Street. Motion by Councilperson Brigard, a second by Councilperson Geezy to approve the certificate of appropriateness for 114 North 3rd Street. This was recommended by HARB with no conditions. It is to install a metal bracket and a 40-inch LED sign above the main door. Are there any questions?
Question.
Yes, Sharon. I'm sorry.
No, you go first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Did
you go first. Yeah. Good.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. I had a question about the process because when I looked at the packet for this, there is an incomplete application here. Like there's sections at the bottom that I would think HARB would have maybe caught. This whole section, official use only, date of site visit by the official date applicant was given the following items: the pink placard, the meeting notice, and it was all blank, even in the HARB packet. So I'm just wondering how that works, because then we don't know, was the pink placard actually displayed? That's part of the process. And if it's not displayed, I'm not sure how you move forward.
All that documentation is included in the packet for HARB, whether it's on that form or not.
Oh, okay, because when I looked at the packet for HARB, this was the way it was, blank. I mean, it wasn't filled in.
Correct, but I'm saying the packet includes all the
Okay.
placards, the license, everything that goes with it. It's included in the packet.
Okay, so that was all filled out. It just seemed funny that this was blank. And it was same thing, date application was received and stamped, none of that was signed, so. Okay, the other comment I had about it was that discussion by HARB took 2 minutes and 14 seconds and that included them voting on it. And I just remember Glenn Schaefer when he was chair of HARB, and we talked about the signs, the sign up at the church at St. Paul's,
Absolutely.
which I commend them. They changed it. I believe it is now a hanging, smaller wooden sign. And they
Yeah,
took
the signboard's gone.
yeah, but they put something else in place now out further that hangs. And, you know, at the time, the chair, Glenn Schaefer, said he did not want to see our historic district look like the Las Vegas Strip. And I'm just remembering, you know, things that he talked about at the time, but I'm not sure how meaningful a discussion, you know, HARB can have in 2 minutes. And even reviewing the prohibited signs for all district, you know, it just seems to me that moving object and mechanical and things like that just seems like it would not really be appropriate. And, you know, it's nothing against the people who are applying for it or anything. It's just, I wanted to know how, you know, we're talking about preserving the district and the people now that are our consultant. Do they actually even come out? Because it said they're supposed to look around at the signage in the area. And if you look at Kettle Works sign and Rocky's Barbecue, I mean, none of those are illuminated from within, and they wouldn't share the same look. So I'm just wondering, we're paying for these consultants. Do they even come out and check this stuff, or do they just automatically say they're okay with it? But anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, can I speak? Obviously, what Sharon spoke to is what I was going to speak to as well. First of all, this is a two-sided sign, so there'll be a message board on each side. That's just correct as Zane. I want to ask the chief a question when I'm done speaking, but this to me goes back to, it's within historic district. And this goes back to when I'm a member of St. Paul's Episcopal Church, 2 buildings up. And we used to have an electronic sign that was put on, actually, when it was all said and done, it was put on the side of the building. A lot of discussion that we had at the council meeting, the hard part at the time that our minister in place at the time, he came to the vestry, which is the governing board of the church. The vestry voted against it, but since the way the bylaws of the church are written, he was in charge of the physical plant, the buildings and the grounds, and he could put that up there if he so choose, but he had to go out and raise the money himself, which he did, but caused a lot of consternation, obviously, within the congregation in church, and the fact that Harb had turned them down. They appealed to the council. Myself and Cleve Berntheiser were both on council at that time. We recused ourselves from the vote because we were both members of the church, and the other 5 voted to support the Harb's decision to not allow it. Now, how it got there eventually was he took his appeal to the court system in Lancaster County, and he had his reasons, shall we say, but they had initially tried to install it on the signposts that were in the yard, and we did force them to take it down. But again, the big pushback was, would it be a distraction? The cars coming up down the street, they're looking, okay, what's the sign say, kind of thing. So, and that was not just that it was within the historic district and the size and the illumination, it wasn't in alignment with the standard, shall we say. And so that's how it occurred. Since then, obviously, the ministers changed, the vestry has changed, and we voted to take it down and just sell it off. We're trying to sell it off, but it's in storage. But anyways, we put the wood sign up, which is more in keeping with church also, and then the historic district. So anyways, I was very surprised to see that, based on that, maybe they didn't know that. I don't know, for this new Hard members, that this decision was made to allow this sign, because for the same reason. So I'm asking Chief, do you see this as being, 3rd Street's a very busy traveled street, and that's a block where there's the corner there, Walnut, and 3rd is there's been plenty of accidents there over the years. Do you see this as, the same type of situation with the church on Locust Street as being a distraction of drivers looking at the sign? And, that was his rationale back then, so.
I can comment on 2 points. It is a heavily traveled roadway, and we have had examples of accidents, in that area.
Thank you.
So
I'm just surprised they approved it, that's all.
we have gone through, recently, I think it was 2 years ago, we revised the sign ordinance. And because we said you could not, there were certain things that were in our ordinance that we could not do.
Correct.
And we also had said that Harb does not regulate the signage.
Correct.
As long as it complies with the zoning ordinance, then it's okay.
Mhm.
So why was there a need to take it to Harb then?
So,
Just asking. Maybe you can answer that.
Well, I think because it is in the historic district, and what you're really approving here is the bracket that's being attached to the sign will still have to meet all of the requirements in your sign ordinance, although the things that we took out were things that were not content neutral. You had a lot of regulations based upon what the sign actually said, which you absolutely, that's not something that can be done constitutionally. So that's really what you're approving here tonight, is that bracket that's being attached to the building. And then the signage itself will have to go through the review for the sign ordinance,
right.
to make that sure that's compliant.
Yes, Sharon.
Thank you.
So a follow-up question to that is why is the size and like the description of the electronic sign a part of this application?
I would imagine that's what was applied for, whether or not that's really, you know,
Can we remove that from this application so that it's not confused that we're approving like an illuminated sign or potentially non-compliant sign in the historic district?
I think you could do that based upon, you know, you're really, like I said, I think you're really just approving that bracket and then, you know, because it's not attached to the building.
I think we just make clarification that you're approving the bracket.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, well, that's all it says on the application.
Yeah.
The project description, metal bracket for a sign.
Yeah.
Well, could I jump in with the bracket part?
Yes.
The bracket shows one ring, but then the sign pictures that are included show two rings at the top to hang the sign. But the bracket looks like it's only showing one ring. So I'm not sure why Harb wouldn't have questioned that part of it. And
Well, because they're questioning the bracket, whatever, I mean, that may or may not be the sign that's going on that bracket.
Oh, okay,
They're
but
approving that bracket.
well, it was part of the packet to show the
Well,
sign.
Right, I mean, I get that, but you have to look at what, and that's what the, really, that's what the, what do you call it?
Stock picture.
Right.
Well, and that's part of the problem too, because there was supposed to be a sketch or an illustration showing the sign actually on the building. And I don't think that was included in the packet. I didn't see it. So that was part of a missing piece there too. Thank you.
Historic Preservation Trust, also in their review, recommended that this is appropriate, with the comment that it is attached in the least damaging way and can be undone in the future.
And that means bolts into the mortar, not into the brick.
Correct. Yes.
So according to our special regulations for signs in the historic district, it says no sign shall be put up unless the recommendation for approval has been issued by the Historical Architectural Board. So if this is only for the bracket, it's going to have to go back through
What would you approve a sign?
the
first
harb.
Before you put the bracket up.
Right. So are we very clear that this is only for the bracket?
No. Now this, Paula, if you will, please.
I didn't watch the HARP meeting. I'm
This
sorry.
was put in as a permit request for the sign, the bracket, everything.
Okay.
Paula's department determines whether it goes to Harb or not and what for. The permit is for, or the people are seeking a permit to put the sign up. Harb's jurisdiction was the bracket. The sign itself met our ordinance. So Harb, when it came up for discussion, Harb right away said the sign already meets our code. It's that they talked about the bracket and that was it. So they got the permit, or they got we got the recommendation from Harb based on what they're authorized to review, and they were authorized to review the bracket because the sign met our sign ordinance.
Well, the sign, is that the sign that's in the bracket then? Because if it is, it doesn't,
I'd have to
the
go
bracket's
off,
not big enough.
I'd have to go off our zoning office.
3.28 feet is.
I have to go off our zoning or codes, the one that looked at these plans, and determine whether it had to go through or not. But Hard went with the understanding that the sign was already approved.
And it was, or it would not have gone before Harb.
So what is that,
The
the
sign.
sign that's in the packet, is that the sign that's gonna be put up? Or is it just,
It's
or is
a
it just
pic,
a depiction?
yes, a depiction of the sign.
It's not, that may not be the same sign that goes up.
Correct. I mean, we got the size, if I recall correctly, there cannot be any flashing or, there's certain criteria to the sign.
Size and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Brightness, I think the brightness is a factor, yeah.
Yeah.
But the depiction of the sign that's in the packet is not necessarily it's not gonna be the sign that's up there, because it's 40 inches, and the bracket's not 40 inches.
Were you going to ask the gentleman that's here?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Do you want
I
to
think
come
it
up with
is
the mic, please?
3.2 feet.
36 inches.
Is 40 inches.
That's 40.
0.2. That's 40
Yeah.
inches.
That's 46.
3.2 feet is 40 inches.
Yeah, the is LED sign is just the name of the restaurant. No messaging or no flashing or no anything. It just, we decide to get the LED because like we can change the color by the season or wherever we like. That's the only reason that we need the LED sign. And you can adjust the brightness too.
Yeah.
So if anything wrong, just let me know. I turn the brightness down. And the bracket is can handle like 800 pounds. And the size is only 25 pounds. And we have two sides attached together for both sides. So it's only 50 pounds. So the bracket, I don't think any problem with it. And a couple of years ago, I applied for the side on 403. And I know exactly like what requirement for the bracket. Where to bolt them, all that stuff. So I think it's not a big deal for it. All right.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Thank you. Anyone have a problem voting?
I know.
All right, I'm sorry, I asked for a motion and then,
So we are assured the sign passed.
yes.
Yes,
we are.
yes.
I have a motion by Councilperson Brigard and a second by Councilperson Geezy to approve certificate of appropriateness for 114 North Third Street. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, we have a certificate of appropriateness for 12 North Second Street. This one's a little more in-depth than a sign bracket. This was, I gotta find it. I know it was recommended for approval. I don't think there were any conditions. Oh, the conditions it was approved with was that the new construction does not take away or compete with the existing historical features. Questions, comments, concerns? Does anyone have a problem voting on this one tonight?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for 12 North Second Street?
Are we sure that the cost of alterations is 14 million?
It might be 14,100,000.
$39.
$39.26.
For real, like, alter, that's what's noted in 14 million?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Really? Okay.
And that number reflects the bond, am I not correct?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, they have to be sold.
Yeah. I thought it was just for the sign. I thought it was just for the sign.
That's a lot of money, Todd.
Oh, my God, Todd.
Oh, Todd.
All right, it's getting a little late. All right, so do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness?
So
All right,
moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson
Frank.
Easy, second by Councilperson Stahl to approve certificate of appropriateness for 12 North Second Street. Yes, Frank.
Todd mentioned 14 million. How, if someone comes in and applies for a permit, 14 million is what the cost is going to be. How much would that permit be? And how would that money be held? How would the borough get it? Is it going to be a rubber check? Is it going to be a promise? Give me some guidelines.
Yeah.
That's why we have that big money.
The permit fee is normally cash, right?
Yeah.
As far as any public improvements, that will be a letter of credit most of the time. Yeah, yep. So, but yes, it would normally be a cash of some sort, wire transfer, check, whatever.
Somewhere, excuse me, somewhere along the line before the project starts, I understand there's got to be money put up front.
Yeah, that what happens is as the project's all getting done, then Derek tells us what the bond is for the public improvements. We approve that bond, and that money is put up before it's started.
So let's be clear so we don't mix, and you do a good job. I want to make sure we don't mix apples and oranges here. You have a building permit.
Okay.
That is for the building and the codes inspection. There is a fee for that building permit. That's a fee paid to the borough. The public security bond is a promissory note. It's either a letter of credit, a bond, or it could be cash, but not normally. That is there to guarantee the installation of any public improvements around the site. It doesn't have anything to do with the building. It's the utilities, it's the sidewalk, it's the lighting. That's a bond we hold until the project's done, and then we release it back. That will actually be on your agenda in 2 weeks to set that amount. I received a
And
revised
that
estimate
amount
from
is
ELA.
set. Yeah, it's set to make sure that any public improvements that are disturbed can be put back the way they need to be. So
Correct.
if the sidewalk is tore up and it doesn't get replaced, we use that money to replace the sidewalk.
So how much is the bond?
We don't know.
We know the
yet.
price of the project,
No,
14
no.
million.
The bond has, but the public security bond has nothing to do with that $14 million.
Right.
It is the value of the public improvements that we need to ensure. It's in a completely different estimate.
Right.
So I'm in the process right now of reviewing the estimate provided by Mr. Murphy's engineer, and I will make a recommendation to council in 2 weeks of what that bond be set at.
Okay. My problem is I shouldn't be questioning some of these things because I don't live there. I'm not a neighbor. If I was, I would have been to the HARB meetings. I've been to different meetings and showed my side of it from living there. I attended a HARB meeting. I don't know. It was the second HARB, it was the first HARB meeting they had on it. I think it related to the demolition. But one of the citizens came there, Nora Stark. She came there, and Eric, you was there. She had some questions. She got up and started to speak. And then Cimarron bullied her, but she kept speaking. You had to give her credit. She got her point across. I like one of her questions, which I want to give to council. Says here, commended that the zoning hearing for this project occurred in 2019, and it has not gone back through that public process for that design change. So I'm asking you, council, why?
I'm happy to provide an answer
Thank
to
you.
this. Yes. So your ordinance gives the zoning officer discretion to decide whether a project has been abandoned if it is not moved forward in the time period that's specified from the zoning hearing board. Right? Which is, it's language that I've not seen in any other zoning ordinance, but it does give your zoning officer that discretion to determine that. Based upon when this went through the zoning hearing board, with the pandemic that happened after that, with material delays, with financing, with the fact that Cimarron was able to, was working on financing and was keeping the borough updated as to where they were with that. The zoning officer determined that the project had not been abandoned, and therefore it wasn't necessary to go back through the zoning hearing board.
Additionally, Evan, I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
don't
no,
mean to
please,
interrupt,
yeah.
but additionally, the zoning officer also determined that nothing substantially was substantially changed from that initial zoning determination. Meaning, all of the things that zoning had stipulated and everything, that is still being met with, any change to,
Yep.
The name of the hotel and things like that.
Yep.
But everything that was approved by zoning is still
Yep, yep.
in
And none of
the
the
plan.
provisions of the zoning ordinance from which
That's
this
the one I
project
was
was
looking
given relief
Thank you.
have changed. So
Correct.
there's not like a setback that was in place in 2019 changed, between now and then, and this project would not be in compliance with that at this point. So everything is still the same from the provisions of the zoning ordinance that this project was given relief from.
Well, I don't, excuse me, I don't think Nora would have brought that up if she thought there wasn't a lot of changes made. I tried to contact her and her phone is full and I can't get to talk with her. But I'm sure she had other questions and comments too, but she did get her thoughts out. But I feel that if anybody that's down there within that area, regardless, close to there, that should be their pet peeves who come out and give their issues on it. I'll still comment because being I guess the developer that's involved in it, I've been to numerous meetings, even with the prior harbor board, and I've seen a lot of things that went on, and I have to question it. So if you're right on what you said, more power to you. I don't understand it, but thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Anyone have a problem voting? No, we don't, because we already have a motion. I have a motion by Councilperson Geezy, a second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the certificate of appropriateness for 12 North 2nd Street. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, staff reports, comments, and announcements. Solicitor Gable.
I do not have anything additional to add at this point in time.
All right, Secretary Treasurer.
I do not have anything to add.
Question, Monday is a holiday, is the borough office closed?
Yes, the borough office is closed on Monday in observation of Martin Luther King Day.
Yes, so borough office will be closed Monday, January 20th. All right, boards, commissions, and committees. Planning Commission workshop, January 21st at 6, and the regular Planning Commission meeting at 7. The Shade Tree Commission meets January 27th at 6 p.m. In your packet, you have approved minutes from HARB from November 13th and Planning Commission from November 19th. Borough Council comments. Councilperson Stahl.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment on Borough Council quorum and the sunshine regulations. There are, anytime any of us get together, whether it's in person or electronically, we could form a quorum. And there are plenty of opportunities for us to make a group text that's not compliant or a group email, right? And we don't do that because, it's up to the discretion of every council member and the requirement and the obligation to not form a quorum outside of a public meeting. And to the best of our ability, that's what we do. And so when we're sitting here signing checks, I personally don't engage in conversation regarding borough or public business in a quorum setting. So anytime after a meeting, and I remain conscious of that because it's kind of like a tendency for people to talk amongst each other after a meeting. And sometimes we have to remind each other like, hey, this is a conversation for another time. And that's just my thoughts on that. Thanks.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes, now that we've gotten through the whole budget process that we spent a lot of time on the last few months, and Steve and others were very much tied up with that. We are going to be meeting this Thursday, and then we'll be meeting on the first Thursday of each month to get back on track and get updated with the legislative items that we have in progress. So we should be giving you an update next month at the I guess be the first meeting of the month.
All right. Well,
So-
Councilperson Kaufman.
I'm gonna jump on what Pete said. I understand the appearance that something could happen. I do. And maybe we discuss a schedule where we have 2 council members a month come in and sign checks, or every 2 weeks, whatever, come in and sign checks. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I can understand where the public could have the appearance that something's going on. But, I'm 1 of 7, so. That's all I have. Stay warm.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think maybe if anything, rather than, I personally don't like to come down more than I have to outside of that. And then the prospect of signing the whole book myself on top of that, maybe we could change some of the guidance in terms of like when the doors get locked, just to wait till the checks are signed. I feel that would be that's like 10 minutes.
I'm okay.
I don't disagree with the appearance of, if the doors are locked and we're all in here,
Yeah.
right?
And I would swear tomorrow that nothing's ever been done,
Right.
but the appearance is still there.
Right. No, I like that. Make sure the doors don't get locked till after.
It solves it.
Yep.
Or hire a babysitter.
We have one.
We have one.
Already did.
He gets paid very handsomely too. All right, council, anything else?
That's all.
Councilperson Brigard.
Text my gov.
Text my guy.
No, don't text it. Just
Get
wait for
text
the,
my gov.
Sign up.
opt in for the alerts. I think I'm nothing.
I'm spent.
I'm out tonight.
All right.
I'm absolutely spent.
All right.
Make a motion, we end the meeting.
All right, I have a
I second
motion
that.
by Councilperson Kaufman to adjourn. Do I have a second?
She already did.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Geezy to adjourn at 8:53 PM. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We're adjourned. Sign the checks. Frank, you